Namaste and welcome. I'm Pratim Ranjan Bose and you're watching my podcast Perspective. In this episode, we will discuss India-US bilateral. Uh, before discussing, I'm just giving you a perspective of the global situation. We are in the middle, or we are at the start of a major deconstruction before the reconstruction of the global framework. The international framework post 1989 fall of Berlin Wall is on demolition mode. United States have withdrawn from WTO, World Health Organization, United Nations Human Rights Commission, and many others. So these were major pillars of the global framework that was keeping the world, politically, economically. Human rights is a case which is very political in reality. So all these things were on are crumbling. Once United States is out, it is just a matter of time that others are practically, they have to get out. And if we look at trade from a WTO regime, we are moving into bilaterals or multilaterals. It meaning that the trade agreements between groups and nations is now taking precedence, and it will take increasingly. It will dominate trade. Insofar as India is concerned, we already have FTA with the third largest trade partner, that is UAE. Then we have trade FTA in place with ASEAN, which is a major trade partner. And we are negotiating FTAs. We already have done a few, and we are negotiating FTAs with all major trade partners. So that means we are moving out of the regime that was. It is at this juncture we are witnessing this India-US bilateral. From my limited study, it is an exhaustive piece. The joint statement that was issued on February 13th has been an exhaustive piece. And my limited study says it is the best thing that could have done at this moment. Let me, since I raised the issue of trade, let me start with trade. Trade and tariffs. It has been in discussion in all the print media. We are going to rework we are laid a framework that we are going to have a multilateral, multidimensional FTA in next 6 months. That is the fall of 2025. So that is September. It means we are going to have an FTA with the second or first largest, because the position keeps changing between China and the US as India's top trade partner. So we are going to have, and that is going to complete the list, because we are not going to have an FTA with China. I don't foresee that. And probably no one in this circle does foresee an FTA with China. That being the case, how does India gain? First of all, USA is a high cost producer. And if we look at, the President Trump was pretty happy that India, in the last budget, we gave space to Harley Davidson motorcycles, some whiskeys. These are the typical products, the premium products, lifestyle products, which might come, some fruits, agriculture products. So these are the things that might come from USA. So an FTA with USA is actually has to be beneficial for India because we have to protect the biggest trade interest is our service trade is completely US dominated. US and the developed world. So we have to protect the service trade. And in return, if some high value products, lifestyle products do come to India, they are already coming. So we barely have an issue with that. We barely have an issue with US interest to sell more energy products, oil and gas, to India. Oil and gas, coal, etc. We are already procuring some coal, some oil from India. It is for us, it is merely, we have to procure these things. It is merely a trade diversification. We are not going to procure the entire stuff from US, but it is just merely a trade diversification. You would have purchased that anyway. So we are not losing even nothing, not even a dollar. The next thing is, but the cooperation side is very big. I'm just now, let me go more on structure. Let me just run down the joint statement is before me. So let me just do some rundown. The biggest thing that has happened is in the space of technology and military partnership. In defense, we have what they said is compact, catalyzing opportunities for military partnership, which is kicked off. The biggest thing, let me just go to the very critical parts or basic, the more, things that people would, common man, do understand instead of getting into the jargons. So to put it simply, we are going to get access to the best next generation US military hardware. And it is told that we are going to have access the F-35 issue is already deliberated, and there is that the subsea. There is no direct mention of submarines, but there is mention of subsea. But the bigger part is the reciprocal defense procurement and the framework for more cooperation between Indian and US military equipment or hardware producers. India military hardware has come up as a significant contributor to India's export basket over the last 10 years. It might look small, it was $2 billion and etc., but it just came up from nowhere. And the other day, France expressed interest in India's Pinaka missiles. India has just sold its BrahMos missiles to Philippines, and the net will increase. So our companies, and there are mention of Indian companies who can work or who are already working in joint ventures with each other. So a good part of Indian military exports is going actually to the US. So this particular thing will increase India's military hardware exports. And we don't have access to the best technologies. So we need those things to increase our military capacity. So which will come from the US? Where is the loss? Because we cannot waste time. We have to ramp up our military capacities very quickly. Yes, we are developing our indigenous products like Tejas, like our own submarines. We are onto those projects. I believe a lot of effort should be given to ramp up your own, indigenous capacities and abilities, innovation in particular. So those things goes without saying. But if we just sit idle and depend on our own production, then it wouldn't come because it didn't come in last 77 years. we didn't develop. We are just developing now tanks. Our entire battle tanks were coming from Soviet Russia. So where is the harm? And with that will come the ancillaries. So this is actually going to widen our, we already have a very serious defense cooperation, and we have seen the Airbus and Boeing's Gs are coming to India, and this particular cooperation framework will actually enhance. The next big thing that has happened is in the area of technology. We want we have laid a roadmap to attract some $26 billion of investment, private investment in nuclear power generation. We need nuclear power for hedging both the volatility of fossil fuel prices, also the issues related to availability or non-availability of critical minerals which are necessary for renewables. So we need to hedge those risks, and for that we need nuclear. On that count, India has already taken certain decisions in the budget, and these are going to, this has created the right foundation for this India-US meet. And let me just quickly tell you what exactly have happened. So we have done two things in the budget. Is one, we have said that the restrictions that are put by Department of Atomic Energy, we are going to redo those things. And second is we are going to bring some parts out of the atomic energy and where there are greater restrictions, and also we are going to do away with certain liability clauses which actually prevent the foreign technology suppliers to come to India, because if anything happens, then the liability falls on them. You might have heard about these liability issues about the COVID vaccine when Pfizer wanted to completely they didn't want to take any liability of the success or failure of their vaccine. So it is not like that, but the rules have to be simpler so that people do come. If you just catch him for anything, they will never come, and we need them because we need those technologies. So that had opened our case for the technology collaboration, and we are going to get the biggest thing that we need is semiconductor technology. We also need other things in defense, artificial intelligence, where India and US have decided to work together. And of course, when I say India and US, it is the US which is important in artificial intelligence. Still, we develop our own technology as China did. But we need their support. Even China needs their support or access to technologies. That goes without saying, because they are much ahead of the rest of the world when it comes to technology. So these are the areas where I see is a lot of India-US collaboration are kicked off in these parts. And the best part is that in everything that they are doing, there is a clear indication that there will be they will build a supply chain. They also know that they will not, they cannot manufacture everything over there. So, for example, say in the case of APIs, active pharmaceutical ingredient, there is a collaboration, and what the way I read is that they will invest in API facilities in India. So, or create help create those facilities. And that is good for us because 70% of our APIs or more of APIs are coming from China. We are very dependent. So we also need to reduce the dependence on China. So these are in everything from military to technology, wherever, if we just go through the joint statement, we will see that there is a clear indication, a clear roadmap to build supply chain logistics and transfer quite a lot of manufacturing to India. Because as I say, that they know that the low-end manufacturing does not suit them anymore. So it is a typical market economics. And on top of that, there are mentions of the pharmaceuticals. Is there are a lot of mention about pharmaceuticals, the collaborations that can happen. On the multilateral collaboration front, it is interesting to note that, and this is very critical for when it comes to Trump's transactional diplomacy. Indian companies have already invested $7.5 billion in manufacturing in the US, and in that includes critical battery components, etc. And India and the US, in this joint statement, they have laid out a joint framework, or they are forming that is in ensuring supply of critical raw material like cobalt, lithium, etc., rare earths, which we have no access. And this market, the critical minerals are controlled by China. I mean, there are certain minerals like cobalt or graphite, which are hugely controlled, dominated by China. So we need access to these elements if we want success of our solarization program, the renewable program, and we need access to critical minerals for energy security. So US has been will work with India in these areas, and that is a very, very good news for us. The best things is the world. We know that the world is getting out of the war mode. Ukraine war is going to end. President Trump has given clear timeline, and everyone is going to comply to that. It is already clear in the newspapers, and there is. I hope that the peace will prevail in Middle East. Let us hope that both all sides can be contained, and things we need some peace in Middle East. But what is good is the India-Middle East India-Middle East Europe Economic Corridor, that is IMEC, is back into discussion. And the joint communique said that they will convene the investors meet, stakeholders meet, etc., etc. So this is back into the discussion with expectation of peace in Israel, expectation of end of the ceasefire in Israel, Hamas, and all these things. That is the best news for us. There are, with that, a lot of discussion is into the future framework to ensure surveillance, peace, and safety in the seas, on both sides of India's seas. The joint communique has outlined that India expressed its interest to take lead in maintaining security and safety of this shipping in the Arabian Sea. And that is a very interesting development. India did step up its vigil in the area, and for last 1 year or so, and taking a more active role. They pressed more vessels than ever. The Indian Navy had pressed more vessels than ever into these things. Let me just read out the portion from the joint communique. The leaders applauded India's decision to take on a future leadership role in the Combined Maritime Forces Naval Task Force to help secure sea lanes in the Arabian Sea. It is in our own interest, because we have growing interest with the trade interests, investments with the Middle East, and we have to take more direct role in ensuring security, maritime security in Arabian Sea. The icing on the cake are two. One is the straight and unequivocal mention of Pakistan's involvement in terror. The 26/11 terror attack, 2008 terror attack, is old, They have also mentioned about 2016 Pathankot Indian Air Force Air Base attack, uh, Fidai attack in Indian Air Force Base in Pathankot in 2016. So this is a very good development which will have repercussions in the neighborhood, because Bangladesh has been the interim government in Yunus, Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunus government in Bangladesh was showing very disturbing signs of flirting with Pakistan, and they have released a lot of terrorists, probably all of the terrorists out of jail, terrorists and all high-risk prisoners out of jail. So that was a very serious issue, and with this. And Pakistan ISI was making trips, and has been hobnobbing between these two. So with Pakistan now clipped, or Pakistan is under the lens, Bangladesh will find it very difficult to maintain its newfound love with Pakistan, and that was needed. So this is, and in the meantime, US is going to repatriate the one of the key plotters of 26/11 terror attack in Mumbai. The not mentioned in the joint communique, but the President Trump has, during the press conference, said that India and US will work on terror part when he was asked about Khalistan. Now, this is important because the Pannum issue had become a serious bone of contention between the two countries. And there were a lot of, so what we consider is, there had been, with Canada doing a lot of things. This is if India and US leaves behind the friction areas with regard to terrorists, that is the very, very good sign for peace and tranquility of the region. Because there had been, over the last few years, there had been very, very disturbing signals that was emitted by the West insofar as these terrorists are concerned. Canada has no right to play host to these terrorists and then bring completely flimsy charges on India. So this thing should have died down, and with the pressure that was built by President Trump on Canada, and the government is going to change under any circumstances this year. So we are expecting, we can expect that there will be some developments on that front. That terror giving hostage to terrorists, this practice probably will, I don't know whether it will end, but it will surely reduce. So these are the basic takeaways from the India-US bilateral that has been held, and we are going to see exciting times ahead. It is the reconstruction of a new era. How it will shape up is a different thing, but one thing is clear, that India is playing on front foot. India is not tentative in its approach. The very mention of that India will take a lead in the naval task force that will ensure maritime security in Arabian Sea indicates India is ready, or is taking keen interest to play leadership roles. India is not merely just it is not on defensive mode. It wants to take more responsibilities, and which it should, because it is from the fifth largest economy, it will be the third largest economy very soon. We are aiming for a developed India in 2047. If that be correct, we have to take more responsibilities. There is no escape from this truth. If we want to be powerful, we have to do a little better than we have been doing in the past. So thank you very much for watching Perspective. Please like and share. फिर मिलेंगे.